A chance to do by the end of the first half. They can take the lead, and they do!
The disturbing details drew attention from around the country.
This involves a teenage girl who was taken from a Dallas Mavericks game.
On April 8, 2022, a 15-year-old girl went to a Mavs game with her dad. She left her seat to use the bathroom around halftime and never came back.
The parents of a 15-year-old girl who disappeared from a Dallas Mavericks game want accountability now.
Days later, she was recovered from what police say was a sex trafficking operation in Oklahoma City. But for Brooke and Kyle Morris, it's what didn't happen the night their daughter disappeared that haunts them.
I certainly did not get that sense that there was a lot of urgency, that they were maybe overly concerned.
Kyle Morris and Dallas police confirm he reported her missing to an off-duty officer who was working the game and that the area was searched.
They were checking bathrooms and stairwells.
But they weren't checking outside.
No.
Because there's footage of her outside sitting on the steps with police officers coming in and out of view. If there had been a photo, if there had been a description, I mean, anything, they would have been like, hey.
And when they didn't find her during the initial search, Kyle Morris was told he had to report her missing to the police department where they lived, in North Richland Hills, 30 miles away. According to the North Richland Hills Police Department, by the time Morris got back home and filed the report, it was 1:24 the next morning. The department entered her into the National Missing Person database about 2 hours later at 3:27 a.m. Even though the teen went missing in Dallas, it was 2 days before the Dallas Police Department sent out a bulletin to patrol officers on April 11th. A week after that, on April 18th, she was found, not by Dallas or North Richland Hills Police, but by Oklahoma City Police, only after her parents worked with an anti-trafficking group in Houston to match her photos with sex ads that traffickers had created of her online.
Had any circumstance been different, how long would it have taken Dallas or North Richland Hills or the FBI or Homeland to find her? How long before they found those ads?
When the unimaginable happens, time is as warped as it is crucial.
When your child is missing, every day is like a year.
The Morrises weren't strangers to this feeling. Their daughter had run away before, many times, and they'd gotten a similar response from police, many times.
She's a runaway. She'll be back. You don't know where she went. We don't know where she went.
It was pretty much the narrative of, she'll turn up. Try not to worry about it too bad.
And every other time, they were right. But it only took one time for them to be wrong, exposing a major snag in the system. Shortly after the Morris' daughter was recovered, WFAA asked DPD why Kyle Morris had to travel all the way back to North Richland Hills to file his report. In an email, a spokesperson cited Section 51 of the Texas Family Code, writing that this portion of state law, quote, dictates that missing juveniles are investigated as runaways unless there are circumstances which appear as involuntary, such as a kidnapping or abduction, and that those cases, per code, are to be filed where the juvenile resides. The Morrises say they were told the same thing.
How does DPD interpret that part of Texas code?
I would say that investigatively it may have caused us some concerns.
Assistant Chief Katrina Shedd is over DPD's Investigations Bureau, which houses the unit that works runaway cases.
It's difficult to articulate that to, can you imagine being a parent, articulating that to them, not here, but there, go there and report,
Difficult to articulate, but even harder to explain, because when we look through Chapter 51 of the Texas Family Code, we found that the Texas law does say a child as young as 10 who leaves home, quote, voluntarily for a substantial length of time or without intent to return is considered to be a runaway. But this part of the code does not at all address how law enforcement is supposed to respond or create the case. That's actually found in Texas Criminal Code in Chapter 63. And we didn't find any requirements for people reporting runaways to do so in their home jurisdiction in this part of the law either. Actually, DPD's website says that to report a runaway juvenile to the department, the juvenile's legal address has to be in the city of Dallas. A department policy, not state law.
And so that's kind of the disconnect that occurred there.
Texas State Senator Kelly Hancock, who represents North Richland Hills, introduced Senate Bill 2429 during the most recent regular legislative session. The bill states that a local law enforcement agency, regardless of jurisdiction, must start an investigation and enter the child into the National Crime Information Center within 48 hours.
And was it consistent what all police forces will look at when a child goes missing and how they treat runaways and missing children?
It also gives a clearer definition of what makes a missing child at risk and gives additional training for responding to them.
There was a lag time and delay that this legislation is, and working with police, hopefully that will address some of this gap that occurred.
The governor signed it into law this month. It goes into effect on September 1st.
My hope is that no one else has to go through anything even remotely similar to our situation.